So guys, this is my weekly report for November 21st. Give you the idea what I've been doing. Of course, I've been going down the Delta. Um, been doing really good on black bass. Bass bite. The water temperature has dropped down to 56 degrees, and those northern bass are on the tear. So I've been doing really good on bass. The stripers, a little different. It's been a hit and miss. I was out 3 or 4 days ago. I was out on the West Bank, spooned a lot of fish, but no size. Just these little fish that are in the system right now. A friend of mine, John, was out there the same day, but he was out fishing out by Honker somewhere, and he was using squaw fish for bait, and they had like 4 bites all day, but they caught some good fish up to 15 pounds. So they're starting to show up in the system. They're just scattered because there's not a whole lot of them. Anticipate maybe after this rainstorm here, this next following week, it should turn wide open. This is the time of year when those things will come in and they'll start making the Delta their home for the whole winter. And then when it's time to spawn, they'll head up the river system. So I anticipate the striper bite to pick up here pretty good pretty soon. One of the things going on right now, if you haven't heard, they found this golden mussel in the Delta, and they're a larvae microscopic size mussel, and if you have your boat in the Delta, you're not going to be able to go to any of the lakes and launch your boat. You have to have a 30-day decontamination requirement before you could go to Berryessa. Solano County Water Agency has been really clamping down. So, when you go to these lakes, especially Berryessa, they're going to ask you if you've been on the Delta. And if you have, then you're not going to be able to launch your boat there. So they don't want these mussels getting any of the lakes. So Solano County and, Lake Berryessa is one of the first ones that are doing this. But I'm sure all the lakes are going to follow suit. So, if your boat has been in the Delta, you're not going to be able to launch it in the lake. You have to have that 30-day period where your boat dries out. And I think they're going to check. So, like if you said you haven't been in the Delta and you haven't, and you go to these lakes, they're going to look in your live wells. They're going to look in the drain plug, stick their fingers in the hose, in your live well, any of the vents or intakes that you have on the boat, whether it's a bilge pump or whatever it is, the lower unit on your motor, if they trim it down, the water drips out, you're not launching. So everything has to be completely dry. It takes like a 30-day incubation period for these mussels to die. So, you're not going to be able to launch. So it's going to get tough here real quick. So, just be prepared. Don't be heading up there and thinking that you're going to launch your boat because it's going to be tough. Okay, so other things going on. Just my idea is that this week, last week, I did a lot of striper fishing and didn't do a lot of catching. I got a 10 pounder one day. I was fishing with my brother. We were bass fishing. I caught a 10 pounder, and I'm out fishing for stripers and can't even catch a keeper. It's been a little bit tough. One day I get a lot of reports from people, and some guys have been getting them, and then the next day they go and they're gone. So, the schools aren't that big, but when they start backing up in big numbers, which they should pretty quick here, the striper season should pick up really well. Okay, so out in the ocean, Dungeness crab season's been open for a couple weeks now. It opened the first Saturday of the month, and I've been hearing good reports and bad reports. Um, I was in Texas, but my brother and some family friends were up at Bodega Bay opening weekend, and some of the boats struggled. They were out dumping pots in 100, 120 feet of water, and they weren't doing that well. The My brother went and pulled up and started fishing in that 80 foot of water, and they had better luck. And they were catching limits, but other friends of the family, they were out there also in deeper water, and they weren't doing very well. He went back out again this last Sunday. They went up to the Russian River out of Bodega, and they did really well, and they got some really big crabs. So you remember, guys, hoops only, can't use pots because of the whales in the area. So you soak for a couple hours and you got to pull them up. Rock fishing, the 20 fathoms open, so the shallow water season's on, and they've been doing really good up there by the Russian River and Fort Ross. They've been catching a lot of lings and a lot of blacks, blues, some vermilions. But the season's been pretty good. This is the time of the year where them lingcod go into spawn, and a lot of times, and we've been going to Bodega Bay for over 30 years, and in the winter was one of the best times for us to go out there and catch a lot of lingcod in 30 to 60 feet of water. They move shallow to spawn, and they're in there. I did a video last year up at Bodega Bay this time of the year, and I showed how I catch them, the big lings on hitchhiking. So that season right now is in full swing. So when the weather permits, you could get out there and go catch some rockfish and get some crab. Bluefin and the albacore. I hear they've been catching some, but weather hasn't been really friendly, so a lot of guys haven't been going out. But I know, I just from talking to friends, some of them been doing okay up at Fort Bragg on the albacore, and out of Moss Landing in San Francisco, there's some guys out there catching bluefin. So that's all depends on weather and whether you can get out there and go catch them. So inside the bay, haven't heard a whole lot of guys kind of like gave up on the halibut because they've already caught enough. There's still some stripers in there, but the leopard shark fishing and shark fishing's been off the hook. Guys that want to do it, there's a few guys that are still out there doing it. I know Jay Lopes, Richie Acosta, Steve Mitchell. You might arrange a trip with them, but they're all chasing sturgeon right now. The sturgeon fishing inside around the Pittsburgh area has been off the hook. They've been catching a ton of fish. It's all catch and release, even though you have a 24 tag where it says you could have 3 sturgeon, you can't have any. It's all catch and release, so it's new rules. You make sure you look up the regulations before you go, because a lot of things have changed regarding the sturgeon. So anyway, let's get back to the stripers. I anticipate after this rainstorm and the water cooling down that they're going to be moving in here. So should be an epic year, catching these fish in shallow flats like I do, in like anywhere from 3 to 6 feet of water. And I catch a lot of them on those swim baits, 5-inch swim baits with a 1/2 ounce jig head. And I either use VMC boxer heads, Strike King heads, and also the Rick Teague's Blade Runner head. He makes quite a few of them, but anything in that 1/2 ounce seemed to work really well. So the bass in the Delta has been really good. Like I said, I've been going down there last few days and catching a lot of bass on chatterbaits, and most of the better fish are all being caught flipping. So I flip the brush hog. I'm sure you could flip beavers or whatever you want to flip, and the fishing is just really good right now. This is the time of the year up north that those northern bass really go on the tear. So it's time. Trout. Berryessa, the Eagle Lake trout. Big Nate's been killing them. He had 4 guys out with him this last week, and they were off the water by 9:30, 10 o'clock. I have another guy that I know that was up there, and they caught so many. In the morning, they were just top lining, throwing speedy shiners around 2.5 to 3 mile an hour. And then after morning went away, about 9 or 10, they had to go down around 15 to 20 feet. But they're loading the boat. The trout fishing up there has just been off the hook. I'm sure you could go to New Melones, Folsom. I was at Comanche yesterday doing electronics consulting, and I looked on the planter board, and all the lakes are starting to plant now because the water temperature's cooled down, the weather's cooling. So every week these lakes are all in the mother lode. I imagine all the lakes around here, they're starting to plant trout now. So, I would get out there and I would definitely top line in the morning because the water's cooling down and those fish should be right on the surface. But they're doing a lot of plants. Um, all the lakes, you could either call them or you could just, when you go in there, look on the board and it tells you, how many trout they've been planting. But I was just at Comanche yesterday, like I said, and they just dumped in a bunch of, rainbows. So anyway, the bass fishing in the lakes, this is the time I love it, because, it's fall. The threadfin shad, the lakes that have threadfin shad in there, they'll start moving up to the main creeks and, go up there to spawn. And, the bass, catfish, trout, salmon, everything else follows them. And it's probably going to be in full swing here real quick. I was up there before I went to Texas with Ken, and we went up there to Berryessa and graphed a lot of bait fish and started spooning. And we had an epic day, where we were catching. We had so many doubles, and we probably caught, I don't know, we were thinking maybe 50, 60 fish. And, we had them up to like 4 pounds. So that's probably in full swing. I know Rick Teagues with Blade Runner. He was up at Folsom, spooning a lot of bass up in the South Fork. Just head up there, turn your graph on, get in the main channel, and graft around. When you see the bait balls, start spooning. But I know Moon Malones, Don Pedro, guys have been going up there. They've also been doing really well. So, the bass is in like pretty much full swing for your fall bite right now. Landlocked Kings haven't heard a whole bunch. I know Berryessa has been a little bit tough. Orville haven't heard. New Malones. I just haven't heard a whole lot about the Landlocked Kings. During the summer it was real good, and then right now I'm not getting very many people talking. But probably like 3 or 4 years ago, I was up at Berryessa that year, and I was using that Gets It, and I was killing them. So this is the time of the year that, I'm gonna get up there and look around. I don't know what this mussel deal, how um, what it's gonna do, but I'll probably have to get up there and take a different boat because I don't want to go up there in my bass boat because I'm down in the Delta, 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times a week, and I don't want to bring any of them mussels with me. So I'll be in a different boat. Um, I know I got one coming from Gone Fishing, so I hope they can get me in that thing pretty soon. But a lot of guys I fish with, like Warren, he's got, aluminum boat, and we'll head up there, and I want to go try that mooching for the salmon. So other than that, the crappie fishing is off the hook in the Delta. It's been really good. I went the week before I went to Texas and caught over 100 with a client. And we actually, I was showing him how to read his electronics and how I locate him on the live and just follow him around. But had a good day down there, and my brother's been going down there a couple times a week, having 50, 100 fish days, and it's been on fire. And I'm sure Berryessa will turn on real quick here. Comanche, Folsom, Amador, they all got crappie in them. So, it's about time in the fall when they start feeding, they'll load up underneath these marinas on the docks, and you take a little jig and you go catch the heck out of them. So other than that, this is fall. The fishing is usually pretty good right now because a lot of the fish will start feeding real heavily, getting ready for the winter, where they don't have to eat so much. And steelhead, this year when I was crappie fishing, I was off the McCallum, and the salmon were rolling all around me. So I picked up a rattle trap, started winging it out there, and I was hooking these salmon that were, these were kings. These were fish in that 18 to 25 pound range. I saw them rolling all over. They were in really good shape. I hooked about 5 of them, and I just said, forget it. This is too much trouble to take them off. But the salmon, it seems like there's a lot of fish in the system, especially in the McCallum. They're probably going to have another record year. So, it's one of the things that happens when these salmon come up in our rivers, the steelhead follow them. And the steelhead fishing, I used to do a lot of it up in the Feather River and American River, and I just haven't done it because I don't have time. I'd rather much chase the big stripers this time of year than go after steelhead. But there's some guys that are really good at it, and I want to tell you, if you guys want to go with a couple of local guys, it's Austin Wilson and Kyler Perry, who works at Fisherman's Warehouse. Austin has his own YouTube channel. You could Google it and find out what it is. But both of them are really strong fishing that American River. Whether you're going after steelhead or stripers, you might want to call one of them guys because their rates are really, really, really reasonable. So those are two local guys that could put you on some nice steelhead and stripers. Don't forget the Blind Squirrel channel. Check it out. Daryl's been out there, and when he goes, whether he catches or not, he posts it, tells you everything that he's doing, and whether he catches a lot or he don't catch nothing, he still posts his videos. So other than that, every Saturday, I'm on California Sportsman with Sepp Hendricks, and every first of the month I'm on at Kent's Ultimate Bass Radio too. I get on there and chit chat with him about the Delta, and I'm on every Saturday at 6:40. But every first Saturday I go in the studio. But other than that, don't forget, if you have any troubles with your boat, you get it repaired, or you're looking for a new one, or you would need electronics or something, go see Gone Fishing. Ask for Mark. Blanton. He actually owns the business, and he'll fix you up. Just tell him I sent you. And then, I've been very busy doing these consulting trips. And I'll tell you, a funny thing happened to me yesterday. I met a guy, Patrick, up at Comanche, and went over all his electronics. He had two Lowrance units that were linked, so we went over everything, and then they were going to go fishing after I got done with them. Well, we were out there, and take me back to the dock. He's going to go back fishing, but he forgot his fishing poles. So he just went out and went grafting around, but I thought it was kind of funny. He was so anxious to get out there, he left all his poles at home. But anyway, if you like this video, hit the like. Please subscribe. If you want to leave a comment, I'll get back to you within a few days. And good luck fishing. I'll see you guys next week.